Do me a favour, can you
Welcome to another special episode of Damn It Bacon. I am here with John. I just looked at the screen and it said Joe. It confused me. I'm here with John. And
we don't share Zoom accounts. It's fine.
And a very special guest in RPD who is here today to respond, really, to Rick Markus's interview last week. But before we get into that, how are you, RPD?
Hi lads, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, cracking, thank you.
Always good to talk to you. I've talked to you for a few years now. Always good to come back and speak to you.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's nice to have you on. Yeah, I always enjoy having you on. Obviously, there's some business really to get to because we've got a couple of weeks now. 12th of April.
12th of April, the 20th anniversary of Warsaw, which is obviously a really big deal, and for Odyssey and for Morecambe in general, really. So, yeah, we're just really excited to put a real show on.
Yeah, and so. Was your first time in Morecambe OPW? Was that?
I debuted the opening show of Odyssey, the debut show. That was my first in Morecambe, and I'd been pre-warned about how it's different in Morecambe, and I kind of laughed it off. But yeah, they were right.
Yeah, we're not joking.
They were right. It genuinely is really Morecambe. Yeah.
So that was one of talking to Rick was one of his pieces where he was a bit up because he was saying that he'd been wrestling in Morecambe 8 years prior. And, kind of feels don't know if you heard. Did you hear his piece in full? He was quite.
I did.
Yeah. Wasn't a fan of the Morecambe crowd. Called them a bit fickle.
Yeah, he said a lot. Rick seems to be talking more and more in riddles as days go on nowadays. But I listened to it. Listen to what he said.
Yeah. What did you think about his views on the Morecambe faithful and the?
Rick, I wrote it to the response, I think, to the podcast when I saw it on Twitter. But what we are witnessing here is the unravelling of a man in real time, deteriorating by the second. He's calling himself a god or whatever. It's laughable, and this is a guy who I had a lot of time for. Someone who genuinely, meant a lot to me and my career, and I genuinely thought we were in it together. He's revealed himself to not be that who I thought he was, and that's fine. But as for the Morecambe fans, I'd rather than address more what he said, I think it's just easy to put facts out there. The Morecambe fans, and I think you can back me up with this, guys, are the most passionate fan base I've ever been in front of in my whole time in wrestling. I've been wrestling for 7 years now, and I've never known a crowd like Morecambe. I don't think I'll ever come across a crowd like Morecambe again. They are fantastic. They cheer, they boo, they do whatever they need to do, depending on how they feel about you. But no one can ever deny what an unbelievable crowd and atmosphere it is in Morecambe.
That is completely true. It is.
Yeah. It's
so different, and I know we always say it's different in Morecambe, and that's like a tagline, but it's true. It's totally true.
It hits different, Morecambe. It really does. It's like I just said then, and this addresses your point, what you said in regards to Rick. I mean, Rick's been doing it for years and years and years, and a few actually have. I think Decca's been doing it years.
Years, long time.
But I was pre-warned about Morecambe going in. But don't mistake that for a negative thing. From my point, they have blown me away since the day I went in. It's easy to say, the crowd, they're different, or it's an unbelievable atmosphere because I've wrestled in a lot of them. There is unbelievable atmospheres all over the country, but there's something different about Morecambe. I can't even put it into words. And then you guys have been in that crowd, and you repeatedly come back to that crowd because there's something special about that place.
Yeah, I'm in Edinburgh. I'm Edinburgh based. I come down for it. Like
that's what I mean. Because that shows you. I mean, that shows you. The sort of pull that it has. Yeah. And it is just an unbelievable place. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful, really, that I got the opportunity. And I'm glad Odyssey contacted me when they did. But I'm so thankful I got the opportunity to wrestle there, because it's been a highlight of this whole journey and this run for me.
How did it feel coming out at number 20 and that pop that was louder than Logan Paul's pop later on that night?
Good, yeah, it was good. They seemed to have missed me, didn't they? So that was good. It was good. I mean, I must say, from my time there and my experience there, I wasn't worried that they wouldn't cheer when I come back, but I didn't. That's what I mean. They never failed to amaze me, because I didn't think it'd be that loud. They're just so passionate and they're so loyal, and I honestly, I can't. I thank them so much, because they have been such a great highlight for me personally. Genuinely, some of the best times of my whole wrestling career have been in Morecambe and at Odyssey Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to witness them as well along the way. So thank you. Rick said he was surprised that you were there. He did admit that he overlooked the thought that you would even be back. So what brought you back to the dance there? Because you weren't on the December show. Rick thought you were done and gone.
Well, that's just Rick, isn't it? I mean, he thinks Rick at the minute doesn't think about anything but himself, and so I knew he wouldn't have his blinkers on for me. Because and in all fairness, no should he really, because over the last few months and last few shows, he's seemingly had the upper hand on me every time. So I can understand how he's not too worried about me, but I came back for one reason and one reason only, and that was Rick Markus. I feel trapped a little bit, because I can't move forward in Morecambe. I can't move forward at Odyssey until this is done with Rick, because my whole career has been put on hold there because of him. Everything that's changed for me is because of him. And you know, I said it in, I think it was the first time I spoke after I lost the title. Listen, being the Odyssey Pro Wrestling Champion was genuinely one of the highlights of my career, and what an honour. You know, the history and the heritage of Morecambe wrestling well before Odyssey, to be its champion and to be beloved by the fans there and everything like that, it meant so much to me. But with that being said, I said it at the time, I have no interest in going back after that belt until I deal with the reason I lost it. And the reason I've lost it is Rick Markus. And I thought it wouldn't take me very long. I'm here a year later, and I'm still no further on. And that's why I'm willing to put everything on the line this time, because I have no more gambling chips. I've nothing to bring to the table for him. He said he was. He said he would, and he said he was. But he has surpassed me now as Rick, and he doesn't need me anymore. But I still need him, because I can't move forward without him. So he is right in that way. I do still need him, but I need him because I have to beat him.
And for you, what does finishing it mean? Is beating him, and then you can move on, because he's still got the contract. He's still got a title opportunity down the line that he said that you stopped him from cashing in this time. He said he would have done it.
I'm not what he does in the future. I'm not interested in what he does in the future. What I'm interested is my future. And I don't have a future at that company unless I can beat Rick. And I have to prove it to myself that I can beat Rick. Because I've beat him before, but I've never beat this version of him. And to be honest, ever since this version of him has appeared, he's been a step ahead of me every step of the way. I've never had any sort of... Every time I think I'm getting somewhere, I get knocked back down a peg or two. And so I knew... The only weakness that this version of Rick Markus, because I heard him say some nice things about me as well, and he said it condescendingly, yeah. He does, but he said about my attributes, and he didn't completely bury me. He said some good stuff, and I'm glad he did, because I'd like to think I've proved myself in Morecambe now. You know, over a 3-year period, I've wrestled everybody, and I've literally achieved everything I ever wanted to achieve at Odyssey. I've done it now, as we stand. So there was nothing more to do. But if we're talking about this version of Rick Markus, I'll give him a few props. He's as good as it gets in Morecambe. And this version of him, I think, is the best version of him that we've ever come across, because he's everything he was before, but now he's just more ruthless, and he's got no conscience, and he is willing to do anything to win. And that makes him a very, very dangerous guy. He was already dangerous, but now he's really dangerous. And so I'm fully aware of the task at hand on April the 12th. I know how good Rick is. Rick for me is one of the best all-round pro wrestlers in the country because he can do everything. He can talk, he can wrestle, he can fight, he can brawl. He's got the look. He's got everything. But the one thing that I do see on this version of Rick, the one weakness I see is his ego. He talks about my ego, but his ego is his downfall and will be his downfall, mark my words, because I knew that for every card he has over me now, and he's got every card over me, and I hold my hands up there, I knew he wouldn't turn down the opportunity to finish me off. He can't do that. So as much as he wants that title, and I know he wants that title, he would rather see the back of me than win that title. And I knew if I just dangled that carrot, that was my last. It was the only hand I had left to play, and I've played it now. And so now I have to see it through, and I plan on doing.
Thank you. And to that point, he did have some complimentary stuff to say about you. Just wondering about the choice of the last man standing, because he did talk about that, and he was like, he beat me. He said he beat me when it was a one-on-one match. Obviously, it wasn't this version of Rick. He turned after that match, but yeah, and then you've had the unsanctioned match, no holds barred kind of stuff, and he was like, well, he's beat me in a one-on-one. So what was it that went through your head that went last man standing?
Well,
it's a traditional one-on-one.
A couple of things. One, because you said to me, how do I end it? How do I finish it? Well, I have pinned him before, Odyssey. I pinned him at War of the Shore, and it did nothing. In fact, it made it worse for me. So that wasn't the end of it, I beat him in a fair and square match a year ago, and as I say, that if anything, that was the start of the nightmare really for me. So it's now about properly finishing it. And you said, how do I plan on finishing it? Well, I plan on beating him. That's how I finish it. But it isn't just beating him with a 1, 2, 3. I have to dominate him, and I have to let him know and finally prove that I am the better man, because that's what this is all about. This is what it's always been about. When we were friends, no one respects Rick more than me. No one does. But even then, I always felt I was the better man. I always felt, as good as he is, I always felt I could beat him. Weirdly, a year later, I don't feel like that anymore. But I have to prove that. He feels that way now. He feels like he's got the upper hand on me, and he may have the upper hand on me, but I have to prove to him, I have to prove to all the people who support me like the way they do, that I am who they think I am, and that's what it's all about now. I can't promise anything, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I will win, and because to be honest, this is the most dangerous match I've ever been involved in Morecambe, and so.
Most dangerous. Okay.
I know the risk, but it was the final chance to get him, and this is literally all or nothing.
So, how far are you willing to go to beat him then? He's gone to this very dark place, and you say like he's got the upper hand. How far are you willing to go to finish this?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question, because over the last year, and I know you guys have noticed it, and I've heard you talk about it and whatnot. There's been a difference in me. I've not been me. The me you knew has changed as well. He's changed me. He's changed who I am and how I present myself, and a lot of the things that I kind of held dear. A lot of my morals and stuff have changed over the last year because of him. But when you're saying what I'm willing to do, I'm willing to do anything to beat him. But what I have learned is this in the last year, because I've learned lessons as well. I went too far at the last time we wrestled. When he beat me in the unsanctioned match, I turned into him, and I thought to beat evil, you gotta be evil, you gotta be bad. And I went down this very dark road, and didn't always quite enjoy or like who I was, but I was on a demolition mission to get rid of him, and I treated Ethan poorly. And Ethan's only ever been good to me, and I shouldn't have done that. But I wanted that match, and I was obsessed with getting that match to try and settle this score. And that was talking half a year ago now, and we're still talking about it now a year later. Because all that did was make me weaker. It made me, although to beat him, I don't have to beat him. I've got to be me.
Yeah.
That is the key. That's what I've learned. I tried to beat him by being him. and he's better at that than
he's
me.
better at being him. That makes sense.
He is better at being a bad, dark man. He is. He just is. And I have to hold my hands up. He's nastier than me. He is more horrible than me. He is more ruthless than me, and he can do all these things. And I tried my best to match him in them areas. And in all fairness, that was my downfall. Because even in that unsanctioned match, I had him beat, and that wasn't enough because I had to go one step further, and that's what cost me. I tried to finish him off, and he was just laying traps for me, and I ran right into every single one of them. So what I've learned over the last year, and this is another vital point, I kind of pushed the fans away this year as well. They've been such a massive part of my journey over the years at Odyssey, and I think they're like they're my biggest cornermen. They've been with me the whole way. But this year, I felt like I've not been who they expect of me, and I don't want to be that guy because they are the reason I'm here, and I've realised that with them with me, that's when I'm at my best. That's when I feel unbeatable in Morecambe, when I've got them behind, and that's what I need to get back to. I need to get back to being me, because the best version of me beats the best version of him, and I'm going to prove it on April the 12th.
Okay, that makes sense. I feel like you've really learned something over the last year, then.
I've learned something. It's been a journey. It has been, and there's been dark times, and I know there's been whispers of me going over to the dark side, and
that may be our fault.
And listen, if I am going over to the dark side, this is perfectly what I would say, isn't it? Because not to second guess everybody, but I would say all these things, but and the story will play out how it's meant to be. But I feel that when I came into Odyssey Pro Wrestling 3 years ago, I said on that day, first time I was there, I am here now in Odyssey, and I now fight for you. And I meant that then, and I mean that now, 2 weeks before the biggest show in Odyssey history, more than I ever have. And I am going to prove it.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. Yeah, I wanted to get onto the dark side, so that's a really,
it's
really nice to hear that, and that learning that you're going to take into this one. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure the fans will appreciate hearing that as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. We've talked about like Rick's turn, and he held you accountable for that, and he brought up some specific moments. Specifically, he was always there when you needed help, and he was getting glassed by Decker, and you were in the car on the way home, and he felt abandoned.
Yeah.
Do you take any accountability for where he's actually at now, having listened to what he said?
Of course, I felt bad at the time when it happened to him, but what Rick's doing nowadays, and this is what I've learned about Rick and this version of Rick's very quick to throw out stories now and say things as if they were factual, but he leaves out massive parts of stories because they don't fit the narrative that he's trying to spin. And so we'll go back to that. We'll talk about that story. That night, as many of you know, I also run a boxing gym as well. So that's my full-time job outside of pro wrestling. I'm a pro wrestler, but I also run a boxing gym. And as part of that boxing gym, I also run my own boxing shows with all my young fighters that box for me fight on. So they all have. I have a connection to all those kids because they fight for me. They're my team, and so I owe them too. And so just like I owe the Odyssey Morecambe fans, I owe them. So an Odyssey show got booked, and sadly it fell on the same day as one of my boxing shows that I'd organised. Now I have to be there. I am the organiser, and all them kids count on me, and I won't let them down. But at the same time, I had grown at the time, and still to this day, a massive connection to the Morecambe fans, and I did not want to let them down because I had been said that I would be there, and there was a mix-up on the dates and whatever. So what I did is I drove down at 2:00 that day, with full understanding of all of Odyssey management. And by the way, Rick knew this too, that I was going to be the first match on that night. And when I wrestle, I get to see the fans, I get to put a performance in for them. I get in my car and I drive back and get to my show as well, so that I can try and be in two places at the same time, which, as you know, is impossible. Sure. But I don't like to let people down, and so I did. I did exactly that. I went and did the job I said in More Odyssey. I got a win. I got in my car and I drove back to my boxing show, and I was there for all the kids boxing on the show. And in trying to please everybody, I let Rick down, and I understand that. But he knew all about this. But he leaves that story. He leaves. Yeah. He just says, I abandoned him. He knew all before that, and he was all for it. Yeah. In fact, he was actually complimentary that I was willing to come up to Morecambe on a day where I had a massive boxing show on. Because bear in mind, back then, I wasn't the main guy. I was working my way up. I was working my way up with the card, but I wanted to be there because that place means so much to me. And I was still there. And so, as I say, Rick has got his stories, and he can twist things however he likes. But he changes stories to fit his own narrative. The truth is, I heard on your podcast, he said about how everyone's changed. That was one of his topics. I've changed. Decker's changed now, and he's good, and the fans are fickle. And right. Wore red, and everyone likes him now. And all the only person who's truly changed over the last 3 years is Rick Markus, and he can lie to himself as much as he wants. That's fine, but he's the only person who has changed everything about himself to be this new version of him. And it could be the new version of himself, or has he just revealed himself after 3 years? I don't know. That's a question for another time. But the only person who I see who's changed in the last 3 years is Rick.
That's fair. He definitely changed.
Has changed.
Is it changed or the mask slipping?
He has changed, and to be fair, I mean, from a career perspective, has he changed for the better? Because I mean, he's never had success like this. He's never had success like this. I mean, this is exactly what he wanted, because part of his problem with me was that I was successul.
He did say that.
Part of his problem with me is he didn't like the fact that I did everything I said I was going to do. And
he felt like you leapfrogged him a bit to the title, I think.
But again, he before we even Odyssey even formulated, I told him all this. I said that's what I was going to do. Now, obviously, he didn't know enough about me to think that I'd see it through, but I did see it through. So I never changed. I was exactly the same guy I always said I was. I came in, I said that from the very start. I didn't come to take part in Odyssey. I came to be the number one guy in Odyssey. And that is still my mission to this day. But sadly, I can't be that guy until I get rid of the guy that's took me off that spot, and that's Rick Markus. And so, with my apparent downfall over the last year, Rick's never seen success like it, and that's why we have to finish this, because if I beat him, then I can finally move on, and if he beats me, I said it last time I was out there, I don't want to be there no more, because I can't be around him. I can't be around him being proven the number one guy. I can't accept that, And if I can't beat him, I don't want to be there anymore. And so we're going to find out. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. And leading into that match that was on the show last year, like he said, he took great offence in you asking him not to put his career on the line. He spent the best part of a year going unbeaten and saying, the next time I lose, I'm going to retire. And then when he finally won and got that match for you, and you said, please don't do that. And he took quite a lot of offence to that, because to him, that was you saying, you haven't got a chance. For you, it was probably, I don't want to lose my best friend, my brother here.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I thought I'd beat Rick. I think Rick is I wasn't aware how good Rick is. I thought he was always brilliant, but I thought I was better than him. Over the last year, he's proven maybe he's got other strings to his bow that I wasn't aware of, that has sadly helped him leapfrog me, which I've not enjoyed, but I have to admit, because statistics don't lie and results don't lie, But I said that at the time, not to offend him. I wanted Rick, and this is what Rick, again, leaves out as part of his narrative all the time. I wanted. Rick deserved a title shot at that time. He had a year of undefeated. He was the man. He was the number one contender, and deservedly so. And so I wanted, for Morecambe fans, the best match that there could possibly be at War on the Shore. And at that time, it was me and Rick Markus. It was me and Rick Markus. That was the match. And so I made it. But I didn't want to retire him because I loved Rick. I thought the world of him. He's genuinely like a brother to me. But if I'm being honest, did I think I could beat Rick? Yes, I did. I thought I had his number. And on that night, I proved that I did. But that isn't who I'm dealing with this year. And that version of him, I did have his number. This version of him has seemingly got my number. And I've got nothing left to offer him apart from my career. And I've got to prove I can beat him.
Who did you think was doing the videos? Because we talked about that. I kind of pushed him a little bit on that last week because he was teaming with you and friendly, and there was months and months of these videos. Yeah.
Rick was the last person on my list, and maybe that's why it was so clever, because I never saw him coming. I never saw it. You know, I've had a few enemies, haven't I, at Odyssey over the years. No, you've watched me. You know, we had the spotlight,
yeah.
And we you know, I've feuded with Sam Bailey, I've feuded with Lance Rivera, I've feuded with Craig Collins, and you know, when there's a plethora of guys from Morecambe's past who maybe didn't like the fact that I'd become the man there. You know,
yep.
I didn't know, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really care until I found out it was Rick. That was worse than, you know, that someone's after me. That doesn't bother me. I'm a big boy, I can handle myself, but it was the fact it was someone so close to me who had completely like a duplicitous idea of me than what I thought he was. That was what hurt.
Yeah. You found quite a lot of amusement in the fact both your wives were sat next to each other at the same time as when it happened as well.
He finds a lot of things. But believe me, no matter what happens, he will not find April the 12th in music. No matter what happens, and you'll notice I'm not shouting a war cry here of what I'm going to do and when I win and all that, because I'll be honest with you, lads, this is the big one. This is the one it's the only time in Odyssey's history, and I mean that when I say it, I'm not sure. I don't know. When I wrestled Ryan Hunter for the title, I knew I'd beat him, and I beat him.
Yeah. And
when I wrestled Decker, my first rivalry at Odyssey Pro Wrestling, I knew I'd beat him. And when I wrestled, we go on and on and on, in Rumbles and everything else, I knew I'd win. I knew. I had this belief in myself. And when I wrestled Rick last year, I knew I'd win, and I did. I just feel like it's a different guy this time, and it's the first guy that I don't have a handle on. I just don't know. And you know, that sounds defeatist. I'm not. He's getting everything I've got on April the 12th, and then people will go. They will be entertained. The people will be entertained because they're going to get a fight on April the 12th.
It's interesting hearing you talk like this, because that belief, I think, comes across in the ring. Like you seem, every time I've watched you, you always seem like you feel like you're gonna win. You believe you're going to win, and it's really interesting that for this you feel like it's maybe going to be a tricky one. It's not certain. You don't feel certain in yourself.
I'm not myself. I've not been certain in myself for a year, and I've not been certain in myself for a year. And I think it's shown in performance. I think it's shown in a lot of things. I've been distracted, but I'm not distracted this time. I'm fully focused. I know what I have to do, and do that. In genuinely the hardest challenge of my whole career in Morecambe, without a doubt. So, what I will say is this, and I will jettison from this. Because it does run parallel. What I will say is this: if I don't win on April the 12th, what I would like to do is, and I mean this, I genuinely mean this from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank Odyssey, because I remember what I said at the beginning. I have had some of the best times of my whole career in that town. And them fans, and they have been such a special part of my journey, and I'm so thankful to them. I'm so thankful for the every moment I've had there, that company, what they've given to me, and the opportunities they've given me, to help me grow as a wrestler, help me grow my name across the country and all that. I never denied that's not because of them, and big part of what they've done for me. And I'd like to thank you guys as well, because you guys have been behind me from the very start, and I appreciate that more than you know. And no matter what happens, I'd like to think we'll stay in contact anyway. But I did want to say that. I did want to say that was on the talk today, because it has meant a lot to me. My time in Morecambe has meant a lot to me, and I hope any fan who's listening, and you guys, when you listen to this, you understand what you've all meant to me as well. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Appreciate that. Yeah. You mentioned about you being distracted, etc. through all this, and I take you back to a time that's probably not one that you want to remember, like the night you lost the title. And I think that night for me kind of showed that, because at the start of the night, if I remember rightly, Meatwagon, Will Carter were trying to get you to join them. Yeah. And you came out, and I remember the words you said, and you went no, and the crowd was really deflated, and you went, having friends got me into the trouble I'm in the first place. Teaming up with someone got me into trouble. But then later that night, you came out, and by doing that's how you ended up losing the title.
Yeah. I've walked into every trap he set. That's why I'm so unsure, because I think I've got him sussed for this one. But I've thought I've had him sus for a year, and I've been wrong every single time. I entered the Rumble last time to stop him. It wasn't even about winning it. It just couldn't be him. I wasn't even bothered about winning it. It just had to stop him, and I couldn't even do that. Been a really, really disappointing year. Every performance, the title. I tried. Will was so beloved, and the Meatwagon are so beloved by the fans, and rightly so. And they asked me to be in that match, and I'll be honest with you, I had no interest in being in that match, but the crowd wanted it, and I always try and do what the crowd want. So I came out, and I thought I was turning the tide for them a little bit. Then Rick appears, and everything changes, and then Isaiah beats me, and that's the end of that one. As I said to you then, I then pivoted from that point. I had no interest in going after Isaiah, because he just benefited from what Rick did. To be fair, I couldn't even blame him, to be fair, because it was what anyone who had it.
He saw an opportunity.
Done, especially him, because he's a little snake anyway. But what point being is, he only did what anyone would do, given that sort of an opportunity. Rick handed that title to him on a silver platter, and he got it. So fair play. But with that, it wasn't Isaiah I had the beef with; it was Rick, and so I tried to get Rick, and he was away, and he brought in Ryan Lloyd, if you recall.
Yeah.
Who again, they asked me to come and wrestle Brian Aidinson. Brian Aidinson didn't show up. Then they bring in Ryan Lloyd again. With the complete respect, Ryan Lloyd is a great wrestler and a fantastic professional. But I wasn't interested in the match. Didn't want the match. At the time it didn't. But the only thing I wanted was Rick Markus, and so what he got was the very dark version of me.
I remember that match.
He got me on a pissed off day, and to be honest, I think that gave me false confidence as well, because I felt like, because I was so angry and so dominant that night, that's how I'm going to beat Rick. I'll just be like Rick, and I'll do that again, and that's it. And then we got him back out of retirement. Come off a Sun Lounger or wherever he was in Bella Medina or wherever he goes on his holidays, and then that was it. I tried to do it again. It didn't work. It just didn't work. In fact, it was that sort of dark side that kind of cost me really. I made mistakes. I made fundamental mistakes. I didn't listen to the crowd. I did it to hurt him, and then that's where it all went wrong for me. So yeah, that was a mistake. And then ever since, I've been trying. I couldn't even appear at the next show because I was so disappointed in myself that I'd let people down. Then I hear him rambling on about winning the Rumble, and I thought, I just can't act that. There's no way I can sit at home and listen to him talk about winning titles and winning Rumbles and stuff like that. So I came back to stop him. Again, he's a step ahead, and I got a little bit too overconfident in that one. I ran finish him off. He had to move a chain, get rid of me. So as I say, at the very beginning, when I spoke to you at the beginning, this is the only card I've got left to play. This is it. And he has meticulously done this over a year. He's been a step ahead of me for a year now. And so on April the 12th, I've got to make sure that just this time I'm the one who's a step ahead.
Do you, let's say you do finish the job, do you see a world down the line where Born Ready do team again? So he was adamant, no.
No, I don't think so. It'd be nice. Because he just... me and Rick were really good friends. I just don't know if the guy who I knew is there anymore or who was ever there. That's the bigger problem. It's not like he's gone away or he's turned bad or something. Maybe he was never good. The guy who I knew, I'd have loved to have won the tag team titles. That was on the bucket list. I said I'd done everything. There is to do in Odyssey, and I have done everything I ever wanted to do. And that's why on April the 12th, if it don't go my way, although I will be gutted to not be in Morecambe anymore, there's nothing left for me to do, because the only other thing I did want to do was win the tag team titles with Rick Markus, and that's off the table now. And so we shall see on that one. But no, I don't foresee me and Rick being friends again.
Yeah, that's fair. And so we've talked a lot about your match here, but it is a special show, 20th anniversary of War on the Shore. Like, what else is cracking on the card? Because it's pretty stacked, and
it's just phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, the history of it. What an honour! What an honour! For one, and I will go back simply to my match very quickly, to main event the 20th anniversary of War on the Shore. That is an honour.
Yeah.
That is a bucket list sticker. And that is something that, if I have done that, is another achievement for me that I am very, very proud of. And so, yeah, I think me and Rick have probably got the most history going into this show of any other body on the card. And so I think maybe main event is the right spot for it, because this has been a 3-year story. It's been 3 years. Literally from the opening segment of the first debut Odyssey show, when you guys were with me in I think it was the meet and greet. This tale started. So this is the finale now. Wow. This is the last dance, as he noticed that I've been going. I think I've been watching Michael Jordan, but it is the last dance. And I'm going to finish it off. So we've got this huge main event with a 3-year backstory leading into the 20th anniversary of Morecambe's biggest show for Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and that's a massive honour. And then on top of that, you've just got such a stacked card, and then I will come away from the whole match. You've got such a stacked card. I love that company, and I will scream about it from the rooftops. I mean, you've got the tag team turmoil match, which sounds insane. We've got the Meatwagon, who are good friends of mine, and all these new teams joining in, which are going to be absolutely phenomenal. The girls' match still sounds absolutely phenomenal again.
Yeah.
Loads of talent there, tons of talent again, experience, new faces. I'm just so proud, and I have been so proud for 3 years to be part of that roster. And I don't know if at the minute it's as good as it's ever been as well, because they've just added, on top of all the known faces that we have, they started to add these new faces that are absolutely phenomenal. And that's kind of why I have to win this match, because I want to wrestle these new guys. I want the chance to wrestle, and I'll be sad if I don't get the chance to do it. But yeah, it's great from top to bottom, from the bottom of the card to the top of the card. It's I think the best War on the Shore we've ever put together. In my time at Odyssey, at least, anyway. And so I really do know that as a team, all of us, we're going to hit out the park and go out there and put a show on for the ages.
It's always a good one. I always kind of think of it as like your mania.
It is. I think it is.
War the Show.
Certainly in the 3 years I've been there, War on the Show is the biggest show of the year. And they've year on year got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think the momentum of Odyssey at the minute is at its highest as well. I think obviously when a company first comes out, there's that sort of new vibe to it, and people are excited for it. But I just think people know we are a proven product now. I think you guys are experts at that. You've been so many times over the years. I just think we're firing on all cylinders, and I think, with any new company, there's always that sort of thought that could it be a flash in the pan? Could it be? But I think Odyssey as a company have proven to be now an established company. I think it's the fourth War of the Shore. I think now fourth War of the Shore, so 4 years, and the stories, the matches, the athletes, the talent, the backstage, the crowd, everything is in my opinion at its highest level now. And so, just really excited for the show. Can't wait for it. And let's put it on that people remember.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. So one last question before we wrap up. On the card, you've got the Tag Team Typhoon match, and Ethan Edwards is in there. We don't know who his partner is, but what have you made of? Because while you've been spiraling, he's also been spiraling, and a lot of that has been caused by Rick and his own anger, and he's now lost his GM role. He's doing anger management. What have you made of Ethan spiral, and where are you two at?
It is because of Rick. But I feel guilty as well with what's happened to Ethan. I've not talked much about him today because of that. This whole thing over last year. I don't know if I've been a factor in this for Ethan. I've certainly been a little part of it in the larger story of Rick, but it's all come down to him, and that's why he has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. I hope Ethan can overcome, the trouble he's having at the minute. I know he's not the GM anymore, and I know how passionate he was to be the GM. I think he's been a fantastic GM for 3 years. But I also know Ethan has got a real passion for wrestling, and I'm really glad to see him get his chance to be a wrestler as well, because I think he surprised a lot of people already, and I think he'll continue to surprise. Ethan's a good guy.
Even Rick said he underestimated him in the match that they had.
Ethan, I think, has proved a lot of people wrong already, and I think he'll continue to do so. I've got a lot of time for him, and I've treated him badly this year. So this is kind of like an apology on air, but yeah, I hope that he can get himself back on track, as I wish for myself as well, because I hope I can get myself back on track, and it all will come for both of us. I'm sure it'll come to its head on April the 12th.
And before we finish, have you got any final words ahead of the show, or to the fans, to Rick, or anyone before we?
For Rick, this is the final dance. So bring your very best, Rick. Bring your very best, because I want you to bring your very best, because I have to prove I can beat you this time, and I fully intend to do so. And just to kind of follow on from what I said before, no matter what happens, thank you so much. Thank you for the last few years. It's amazing, and I'm gonna give everything I have on April the 12th for you.
What a way to end it. So April 12th, Alhambra Live, as always, tremendous venue in Morecambe. There's some tickets left, but the front rows went out pretty much the day after the last show. Second rows are pretty much gone. So, but yeah, get yourself along and get in that crowd, because
it is the best night.
A wild one.
It is the best time. Go get tickets.
It really is. If you like wrestling, and you like a crazy night out, and you like atmosphere and drama and story and athleticism and action, all them things, Morecambe is as good a place as anywhere in the world for an experience it like.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on and responding to Rick.
No,
look forward to seeing you there in a couple of weeks. Thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.